Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the new character and weapon banners that will be headlining the 3.3 update. I'll be going over the banners and see if they are worth rolling on. Before we continue on with the video, if you enjoy my content and you want to support me, please leave a like, subscribe for more content in the future, and check out my Twitch. I will be streaming the 3.3 update on day 1, so definitely check out for that. And now let's get right into the video. And here are the new character and weapon banners that will be coming in 3.3. I'll be going over the character banners first, and then I'll dive into the weapon banner later. So the characters that we will be getting in the first half of 3.3 will be Wanderer and Ito as the 5 stars, and the 4 stars being Faruzan, Goro, and Yanfei. Let's talk about Wanderer first. I talked about him a little bit previously in my other videos. So Wanderer is a Nemo Catalyst user that specializes in doing normal and charged attacks with some decent fast normal attacks and dealing more damage when using his elemental skill that allows him to fly up in the air. His elemental skill also allows him to fly anywhere, but when talking about Wanderer's elemental skill, instead of a cooldown duration, it's converted into points, where compared to like a stamina bar, his elemental skill has his own stamina bar where you have points where the amount of usage, where if you do a normal attack, charge attack, it decreases the bar, and you can be in your elemental skill state until that bar runs out. And his elemental burst is your standard elemental burst, where in this case it allows him to do multiple instances of enable damage towards surrounding enemies. However, one thing I don't like about his elemental burst is that if you're in his elemental skill state, if you use your burst during your duration, it will cancel that state and kind of mess up your rotation in a way. Because if that's the case, then you can only use your elemental burst before you use your elemental skill or after you use your elemental skill. Now, since we have a really good understanding of what Wanderer can do, how good can he really be, and how worth is his pull value. Wanderer is an on-field unable DPS that doesn't really provide anything to your team. However, in his case, he does benefit a lot from different elements from different characters compared to someone like Zhao, where Zhao really has a specific team comp that he really specializes in, and you can get around 2 instances of buffs from 4 different elements whenever you basically swirl when using your elemental skill in your rotation. So the buffs that he can gain are one of the 4. If he comes into contact with Hydro during his elemental skill, it basically increases the points that he can use, which basically increases the duration of using his elemental skill. When it comes into contact with Pyro, his attack increases by 30%. When it comes into contact with Cryo, his crit rate increases by 20%. And basically when he comes into contact with Electro, he gets more energy regeneration. All pretty good buffs, but the 2 that I know a lot of people are going to run with him is the Cryo buff and the Pyro buff. But honestly, all these buffs are really good in terms of like the universal team comps that you could run with him, but it's going to be really interesting at how he compares to like other DPS characters. His best install artifact set is definitely going to be the Desert Pavilion set, which is specifically made for him. It gives him normal attack speed, it increases his normal charge attacks by 40%, basically his best in slot. If you don't want to farm the new domain because it is a new set and farming a 4-piece can be a pain, his second option is the 4-piece Anemo set. It's not that he loses damage, but he increases your other team members' damage. Basically, you're doing a lot more damage overall between your other characters. So that's his second choice. His third choice is very interesting because similar to the Desert Pavilion set, the third set that's a 4-piece that he has is Shimanawas. Now, I can understand why a lot of people don't want to run Shimanawas, because Shimanawas has a restriction where you need to have at least 15 energy to proc the 4-piece set, where it's very similar to the 4-piece effect of Desert Pavilion, where in Shimanawas it increases your normal charge attacks by 50%, but the fact that you need to have a certain amount of energy and it takes away that energy, it limits from using your burst at the beginning of the rotation, which is like what I said before. It's kind of a pick and choose thing. You can put them on Shimanawas if you don't want to bother farming a 4-piece of the new set, but if you don't want to put them on Shimanawas because of the dumb restriction that it has, then you can farm the new Desert Pavilion set, which is his best in slot, but it's going to be new, so you're not going to have a good 4-piece right away. It's honestly up to you. For me, I'm going to be running Shimanawas on him on day 1 because I actually have a good Shimanawas set. So this is going to be the build that I'll be running on Wanderer, which is going to be 78 crit rate, 208 crit damage, and 160 ER. These are my pieces. when going into discussing weapon choices for Wanderer, his best in slot is going to be obviously the new Catalyst, which is called something Remembrance. I don't know how to say the first word, but it's a crit damage weapon. The lowest crit damage ratio of a 5-star weapon, which is 44%, but because it has the lowest crit damage possible, it's going to have the highest base attack possible. And the passive that it gives Wanderer is actually fitted for him. It gives him 10% attack speed and basically increases his normal attack damage overall when using an elemental skill. So best in slot for Wanderer in terms of 5-star, but in terms of weapons, he is going to have a lot of options both in 4 stars and 5 stars. So definitely check out my video that I will make about him when he does release. But knowing everything about Wanderer, is he worth the pull? Up to everything we know about him now is really gonna depend if you need a Nemo DPS like him. But if you enjoy his gameplay or other means, then definitely pull for him. I think he's gonna be up there with the lines of like Zhao and Ito. But in the case if you need a DPS and you already have one, he's really a skip. And now moving on to Ito. Ito is a little bit more straightforward. He's a geo damage user that specializes in dealing normal and charge attacks that deal geo damage that scales off his defense. His elemental skill basically makes you throw a bowl that deals geo damage, which also helps you build up more stacks. In using his elemental burst, he gains stacks, which increases his overall normal and charge attacks with a certain amount of uses. But overall, he's a pretty good geo damage user. However, because he's geo, he doesn't really have that much team comps, where in order to fully utilize his damage, he does need certain supports like Goro and basically geo specific team members. His best in slot is the defense set. However, he can be unappealing to pull for because that set is in a domain that's not really appealing for a lot of people to farm. But if you like Ito, his best in slot does make him a lot stronger. So knowing Ito for about some time now, he's not really that worth the pull, only if you really want to make a good geo comp, because he is a good strong geo user, but it only depends on who you're running with him, which does kind of decrease the pull value. So for Ito, he's not really worth the pull, only if you really like running geo. And now moving on to the 4 stars, which would be Faruzan, Goro, and Yanfei. Overall, these 4-star options are not that great. Yanfei is a pyro DPS that only works if you build her as a DPS. She's not really useful in terms of the 5 stars like Ito or Wanderer. In terms of like Goro and Faruzan, they pretty much fit the same role, but for the specific 5 stars that are on the banner. For example, Goro is only usable for Ito and Faruzan is only usable for Wanderer. So in terms of that, if you're pulling Wanderer and you pull Goro, he's not useful at all. And if you're pulling for Ito and you pull Faruzan, she's not useful at all. Both of these characters are only useful for their specific elements, which kind of makes the 4-star options kind of lackluster. Now when talking about them a little more, Goro, not that great of a 4-star, only good in buffing Ito. Faruzan, kind of the same thing. She's not that great of an Anemo support because unlike Sucrose, she can be used in multiple team comps, whereas Faruzan, she's only usable if you're buffing an elemental TPS like Wanderer or Zhao. So because of that, if you get Faruzan, it's good for Wanderer. If you don't get her, it's not really that big of a deal. Honestly, I think it's better to run Wanderer with other characters of different elements than putting Faruzan with him, because Faruzan is only good if you want to buff Wanderer's damage to the best that it can. She doesn't seem to have good energy regeneration, and she doesn't really have great crowd control, which Anemo supports are known for. So because of that, she's not really that great, only useful if you're buffing Wanderer. So that's a look at the character banners. Now moving on to the weapon banner. So the weapon banner is going to be Redhorn and Remembrance. Overall, this banner is not great. The weapons are only useful if you're pulling for the specific character. Yes, they're crit stat weapons, but overall the passive on these weapons are not really great for anyone else besides the characters that are on the banner. So overall, this weapon banner is kind of don't really pull on it unless you want to pull the weapon for their respective characters like Wanderer or Ito. The 4 stars are not even worth mentioning because it's a weapon banner. So overall, how good are these banners? The character banner is kind of The 4 stars are lackluster. The 5 stars are specific to the role, and the weapon banner is also specific to the characters that can use them. So in the end, these banners are only worth if you like the character. I will be pulling Wanderer on the day of the patch, so definitely check out my Twitch. The link will be in the description below. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribe for more content in the future, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.